Fest. Thank you, Jason, for joining us. So I'm gonna grab my notes because I don't want to forget. We did just a little bit of so first one being just talking about head weight, right? Today we can absolutely do this in our comp in just a few minutes. Talking about intentional looking down, that if I want to do a pass by tuck, right, I can start down to pick it up for a more dramatic effect. Yes, but not leaving it down through the pattern. So that was sometimes what was happening in our warm-up dance. It was staying down the entire time. Or if we did like walks, something together, this was also one where the head just stayed in that downward state. Yes. And again, if you're going to do those like pop, I could go down, down into my up. Again, it makes for a more dramatic effect, just not lingering in that downward position. We also talked about presenting from the outside spin, so we did a double outside inside spin, where Jason prepped us to present outward. Yeah. Sorry, that's a terrible description on my part. And we talked about taking the head away for a little bit more dramatic effect, but that the head goes away and revisits Jason as the foot lands, right? And then that allowed us to watch each other to see what we're going to create there. Versus the first time Jason presented, we were doing our own thing, but our things didn't match, right? So we talked about and look, and then create together. Or if I want to go for the really dramatic, more bold option, I can look away, but then I have to stay away and try to influence from there. So it's a little riskier. I would do that with somebody I trust. Obviously, Jason's a good candidate for that. Then we talked a little bit about your rides, right? And using our hip weight there, in that we want to gradually build the momentum away from our partner to generate more speed in the ride, right? And our hips were just a little kind of lifted. So maybe did a sugar tuck variation behind the back.
So that was.
Right here, and kind of a breath, and then we sit those hips away. Yeah? And then we also did an exercise just from here, kind of more traditional ballroom hold, right? And then practicing sitting into that connection. And that in this position, I almost thought about pulling my right shoulder away from the connection to help facilitate that momentum. So just practicing a couple different positions and rides and feeling that gradual build together and how we can create more speed. Then I think we talked about kind of our syncopations, our alternate timing on our anchor step. So getting more time to our 5 instead of to our 6. Kind of vary up our anchors. Sometimes the music sounds more to me like da, 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 depending on what it is, which would tell me to go 5, 6, and, right? Instead of 5 and 6. I'm still gonna find the song I had last Tuesday for this because it was perfect for this idea. I will send it to you later once I find it again, but we did that where we did just a basic anchor, 3 and 4 for 5, 6, and it also kind of creates a little bit more contra. Again, I didn't want to use the word wiggle, but kind of hip movement as I'm like giving more time to that 5. And I'm really thinking about rolling through my feet for 5 and 6 and. The tricky part here was since I'm giving more time to the 5, I really have to make sure that and 6 is quick. So I'm ready to move right out of it, right? So if we do a couple sugar pushes, we went 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, and I'm ready to move, right? So then we did this in a couple different ways. You were really comfortable with the rise and fall, which I really liked this variation on you. It also influenced Jason to do it with you, right? Where we went like 5, 6, and, yeah? The other ones that we played with was an outward one for 5, 6, and. We talked about that there's a little bit of a twist happening, 5, right? I'm almost thinking about pointing my butt outward, 6, and that I'm leaving the connection. Jason should feel rotation, but he shouldn't feel lateral movement. I don't want to go 5, 6, and. That doesn't feel good. I'm like, I can't even twist that way. Anyways, so I leave the connection over there for 5, 6, and then it might influence Jason to go to that diagonal afterwards, which is really fun. Or maybe Jason decides to go to the side with me. Now the connection can move. So we did it just straight out to the side. We talked about you could do it from a sugar tuck and do it out here. Do right? Or the harder one, I could stay under rotated for 5, 6, and this one's the hardest because my foot is going towards my leader, but I need to take the connection away from my leader. This one, it's like everything's going away, right? But here, I'm coming towards, and I have to keep the connection engaged throughout this. So this one's really nice from like an underarm pass. If I stay under rotated, 3 and 4, it sets me up really nicely to do this one. 5 and 6.